Are you ready? Turn it up! Yeah! Welcome to the noise inside your head. No holding back, we live on the edge. Let's go!
And welcome back into another episode of Sage Against the Machine podcast, the podcast for the working class, where we cut through with blunt, honest voices. I'm your host, former U.S. Senate candidate Nathan Sage here in Iowa, and I am joined again by my friend and colleague, who is a retired radio journalist with bylines in the New York Times, Time, USA Today, and many more publications. He writes at Deep Midwest Politics and Culture on Substack. Dr. Bob Leonard, say hello.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
As we are here on a special episode on this Wednesday, we normally do Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we got a special guest with us. She spent years fighting for Americans' manufacturing, workers, education, working families in Congress. She also just came through a very tough U.S. Senate campaign, giving her a pretty unique perspective on where Democrats are headed and what working class voters actually want. So we're going to skip the political bullshit and we're going to be having an honest conversation. Thank you to Congresswoman Haley Stevens for joining us on the Sage Against a Machine podcast. How are you, Haley?
Hey, rock and roll. I'm great by seeing you. I'm excited to talk to fellow Midwesterners too. The heartland, the heartbeat of the nation, and just what's cooking out there. I know there's always an election coming, but man, there are things brewing in this country that we should be talking about.
Oh, absolutely. I think, the reason I was extremely excited, I said this to you, the reason I was extremely excited to have you on is you are an eccentric character. You are real. You are blunt. The videos, the clips I've seen on you, like, Haley, you look like someone I would love to just joke around with and talk about the world with and just have a good conversation because you're willing to laugh. And I feel like in politics, that's one thing that you don't really see much of is people that are willing to laugh and have a realness about them. So first of all, thank you for joining us, being on here. I will say that it is interesting and that, I feel like, your base and the people that support you might be a little bit different than some of the people that support me, but also we also have common ground, right? And I think the common ground that I want to talk about is working class issues and worker issues. Yeah. And I feel like you've been a champion for workers' issues, obviously with the auto industry and doing things to make sure that workers are taken care of in Michigan. But across the board, it seems like working class has been struggling across this country. We've had a lot of issues as far as like just affordability. We've had issues in regards to healthcare. It seems like every day is another chaotic moment in this country. And I want to ask you your perspective from Michigan. What are you seeing? What did you see during the campaign trail that maybe you feel isn't getting the attention that it needs? And how do we as Democrats come together and go, hey, we're the party that's for the working class. We're the party for workers every day. Like, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and some of this too is that saying about how they talk about touching grass. You know what I mean? Just getting out there, how you did things with your campaign and, how you grew up and really knowing people. And somehow, some of this stuff it's gotten a little out of touch. It happens. I mean, frankly, it's some of the things that gives me pause about the Senate. You get a little bit more in the ivory tower in the Senate. And, I contain my multitudes as a human being, all right? And so if you'll just indulge me for a minute, okay? My parents are just like the most classic Michiganders you will ever meet, all right? They met at Oakland University, which is a small, kind of liberal arts commuter type school. It's now grown. They've got a medical school, but they met at that school. They started a landscape business. My dad's dad worked at Ford, had a good career off that. My mom, left home at a young age, paid her way through school. Woman is whip smart. My parents had this business. It had good years. It had bad years. My dad I remember he'd pick me up from school, covered in the dirt with the boots, and the ankle socks. And I'm like, Dad, what are you like? Oh my God, you're covered in dirt. Like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm embarrassed, but I'm not embarrassed. My dad's 81 years old and still driving his Ford F-150, okay? And that says Stevens Landscaping on the side. And he tells me every week whether he has a job or not. Like you can't, and the guy's, again, he was also a teacher. He worked a multitude of careers. My parents divorced. My dad ended up shorting his home. He shorted his home because I'm working in the Obama administration. Like, just, my dad's words, do not ever be the smartest person in any room, just be the hardest working. So I was like, okay, auto industry's going down the tubes. I'd worked out in West Michigan, with the UAW CAP coordinator and the party and door knocking and using an old school map, just like loving the purity of American freedom and democracy and engagement, which was awesome. And then I just like, ended up on the Obama campaign, ended up in these roles. And I'm like, holy smokes, because I was there with these smart, smart people. And this was '09. This is before every millennial put every life event on the internet, and my dad called me. He's like, I had a subprime mortgage and he was gonna go foreclose. And look, and what did I do? Put my head down, stayed to work, went across the hall. I'm on the auto rescue team. I go across the hall to the one where they were doing HAMP for the home ownership affordability. My dad went through it and his home was saved. It wasn't foreclosed on, but it was shorted, and he's not living too differently than how, you grew up. He's not in a park, but he's got, I mean, and it's just very real, and it's like, I'm not here to like get into all this narrative politics stuff, but it's just one side of my family story. My mother, she ended up jumping from my dad's small business into small business with her sister. They had a little bit of success, which was nice. Nothing too wild, but it's like I just got to see both worlds. Like I got super lucky. I got to go to the college that I wanted to. My hardworking mom, like, I don't know how she did it, American University, 2001, but we just made it work. And, I've gotten to do incredible things just by putting up my hand and being involved. So that's my narrative. But this skinny about what the heck is going on in this country is that a kid he actually was like a field guy for me in 20. And his name is Liam. He's still involved in Michigan Democratic politics, but he got into American U, okay, in 2020. And same thing, single mom, going to send him to school, all that. And they just couldn't afford it. He couldn't go to like, I got to the chance, like, look, I would have been fine going to state. Liam went to state. State's a great school. It's a different, marker in time. And by the way, not like my brother didn't go to college, right? My brother's a cook. Like he just same thing, same ethos, works his tail off, part of all that. And so, there's so much damn money that goes into politics. And I'm not just talking about the campaigns, okay? That's a whole other thing. That's on advertising and all this other crap that needs to change. But I'm talking about the people who are participating in the dialogue, the TV stations, the podcast stuff, the this, the that, the consultants. And I'm done with the negative nasty, okay? We've had enough of the teardown. But I just think that I saw this in my primary. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was soothsaying. Everyone had, the prediction, the information, the this, the that, the boom, the bop. They were all wrong, and so it's like, wait, isn't this about votes? Isn't this about getting votes? And the election comes and it's like, nope, we're already ready to call it. We called it. We had our target. It's like, guys, just let the votes get counted. And by the way, it's like I'm a professional. I'm a lover of American democracy, and I'm a proud Democrat. So, people are like, I can't believe you endorsed your opponent. He won the election. That's the deal you make. You don't go for a Democratic nomination, and then if you don't get it, go burn the house down. What good does that do? My points were made. It was 8,000 votes. 8,000. I don't know who those 8,000 people are. I still love them. Maybe they didn't even realize that, if I didn't get the Senate, I wouldn't get the House and boom bop, out. Who cares? I've had great 8 years. I'm going to still be in the party. I'm doing your podcast now. Probably, I don't know if I would have had time to do it had I won the nomination. So anyway, that's my soapbox. Sage Against the Machine, baby.
That is the reel that I wanted so bad. I appreciate that answer. One thing I was going to say is like you said there was what your dad said was don't be the smartest person in the room, be the hardest worker. Dr. Bob, see, that's a point towards me because Dr. Bob is usually the smartest person in the room when it's me and him talking. He usually smacks me in the head and calls me a dumbass sometimes. That's
But
how
Bob
the
earned
tough.
it with his beard. Okay.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I am just here for the wise man's beard. And if you do get published in the New York Times, you are the smartest person in the room. No, I'm just kidding. I love that. It's, you know.
Now, Dr. Bob, now you're on stage. Now it's your time to ask your questions.
Well, first, thanks for coming on. And I think both Nathan and I want to know, what did you learn on the campaign trail? What did you learn in Congress? What have you learned through your life? Especially in the last few years, what do we have to do for Democrats to win, to take back our country? All of the corruption, all of the dismantling, all of the dismantling of the Constitution, there's all kinds of authoritarian things going on, and much of the American public doesn't know it. How do we get their attention?
I'm a big believer in the long game. And I have a little bit of a technocratic side, to be honest with you. Like, I am really interested in looking at our country and the democracy from the disposition of where we are right now, but also with the bird's eye view of there's a whole future that hasn't been written yet. And somehow we kind of have let ourselves run a little stagnant. It's like, here's one. All right. I'm doing it as a bill. I'm saying it live here. Yay. I already have a compendium bill for it. I had a study to like look at expanding the size of the House. It's not a constitutional amendment. Congress could just say, hey, we have 435, maybe we should do 455, 455 members of the House. The way the founders intended it, it's supposed to be the direct will of the people. So these House seats now, Nathan, you're in the great state of Iowa. I have a lot of good friends in Iowa. I've had cherished time in your state over the years. Not in recent, months, but, I'd like to get back. Abby Finkenauer is a friend of mine. I love her. She just got a beautiful home in Des Moines and is raising her newborn there. So told Abby I was going to come visit. But it's like, okay, you got 4 people from Iowa. These congressional districts, they're 800,000 people big. In the 90s, I think they were roughly about 400,000. And so, these House members, like I got this big old fancy office and it's cool. I got it painted. I got art on the wall. My mom's a painter. I have, all this stuff in there and it's a cool place to go see. But like I could also just work in the bullpen by my staff, right? And we could take the physical space that we have. We just zip zop out of the Congress. We're there for a couple days and we're home and it's beautiful. The White House doesn't work like that. Even the Senate doesn't really work like that. But you're constantly grabbing on to what the folks in your district are saying. So, Bob, I appreciate the time to share this because I think we've got to be, as Democrats, pushing on, an American agenda for the health and security of the union. And when I say security, democracy croaks when you're not investing in it. We need to be forming the more perfect union. It shouldn't be thought of as blasphemy to put ideas out there for what we want this country to look like. I mean, even the darn presidency. I mean, the Constitution has it. I said this all the time. Everyone tells me to shut up. But I mean, it's like, okay, we have no king's rallies. We got a head of state and a head of government. We've had, ever since the year really 2000, we've had these bizarre national elections, pretty regularly, where someone wins the popular vote, doesn't win the electoral, this, that, and it's like, what's the vice president doing? In the 1800s, we didn't know what bacteria was, so they were there if the guy croaked, but now it's kind of thinking about this, eyes wide open. I don't think I have every answer, but I'm willing to ask about it to push for these reforms and to push for the health of our democracy. You want to send a message to China that we're a better system than they are because they're trying to eat our lunch right now. They're investing in our enemies. They're undermining us at every turn. And it's like, hey, we are continuing this experiment. That's what it was. I mean, it was 13 colonies and the revolution and all of that, coming out of the, cut off from Great Britain and the king. But now, it's like we have no kings. I did 2 Trump impeachments. He's still in office. Biden got pushed out. I don't know. So why aren't we asking about that? Now, the other one, because that's a little heady, and how does that impact people's lives, is what is the guarantee to the American taxpayer? Because right now, when you're making $50,000 a year, you're in poverty. You're making 100K, you're maybe hanging out in the middle class. 63% of Americans are living darn paycheck to paycheck. And this is just, an F word, right? Like this is not appropriate and it's not working. And then they're still getting taxed. And these, like the Trumpers, over there with the gold-plated walls and all that, they're over there. Yeah, we'll just keep skimming them off the top. We'll keep skimming them off the top, keep skimming them off the top. And it's like, guys, my people are getting billed to death. Their utility bill is up. Their healthcare bill is up. Their grocery bill is up. Their kid's sports game is up. You got record consumer debt in this country. I mean, it keeps me awake. As someone who worked during the Great Recession, it's like the next damn housing bubble to burst. $1.3 trillion of credit card debt. Well, are they too big to fail? What happens? Look at default rates. Look at the number of Americans, because maybe they've had an employment setback, who are early on tapping in, to post-tax, pre-tax retirement savings. So there's fear going on. And then the fear is leading to division. We certainly see it in the parties. I don't need to talk about it because enough people profit off of division, and I really don't want to be into that. But I do like talking to you guys about these ideas.
One thing I wanted to say about that really quick is I'm with you 110%. I am tired of the division, especially in the Democratic Party, because I feel like one thing for me is, and I've said this many times, and it's funny you said F word. I cuss all the time, so I'm going to say it. I can't stand these fucking labels. I can't stand that you got to fit into this box and feel this way. I feel like the Democratic Party, what I've been told for so many times is we're a big tent party. But it seems like we have other people that are kind of like, well, yeah, but if you don't agree with me, then we're closing the door. It is how it continues to feel. And one question I wanted to ask you, not necessarily about the division, but straight up was how do we, in your opinion, as Democrats, get rid of this division to get to the point where, hey, man, we got to win. We got to take this country back from these people that are doing all they can to suck us dry from all the money and do all they can to make our lives harder. How do we come together as a coalition to go, hey, we are Democrats, we're proud, and we're here to fight for everybody that is struggling in this country?
No, and like look at my, soon to be senior senator, Alyssa Slotkin, for instance. She's doing a great job. She won the seat by a close margin. She wasn't with me in my primary, that's okay, right? It was a difference of opinion. She wasn't against me, I don't think, but she I don't know where she was. She might have been with the other gal who dropped out, the state senator who was in for a bit. But and it's like, hey, that's politics, right? It's not, it's not personal. It's, people are allowed to, disagree. But here's the thing. We're all, Alyssa and I know that we're still on the same team. And this is the other one. Me, 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 me. Can we just cool it down? All right. I just like to serve. I like to help people. Okay, I didn't win the Senate primary. I'm not going to the Senate in 27. Look, I'm a House member. I got a good legislative team. I mean, my legislative director, his name is actually also Liam, not the kid from who was graduating high school in 2020 that I was talking about. But and we've done this awesome work together. Our whole crew. I got these brilliant people for years. Oh my gosh, we got a critical minerals bill. We got labor bills. We got this recognition as the most effective Democrat, in the delegation and one of the most effective in the Congress. And it's like, oh, I'm writing bills and passing bills. And it's like, okay, we got to wind that down, and their work will go somewhere, and their talents will, maybe stay in the Congress, go to another member or go to another senator or something like that. But it's like Slotkin and I were at the Unity Breakfast. She's going to be out there campaigning with Abdul, as the sitting senator. Same with Gary Peters, same with, like our crew. We're just like, and by the way, if I want to run again or if I've got other points to make, I'll make them. But, right now I got absentee ballots dropping in 4 weeks, 4 weeks, just about 4.5 weeks. And it's like, we don't have time to waste. Yeah, honestly, I mean, I want to see Jocelyn Benson become elected governor. There's a great gal in Macomb County. We should have her on the show. It's not even my show, it's your show, but you could have her. You could have her. Christina Hines, just the sleeves rolled up, former special victims prosecutor, running for the open U.S. House seat in Macomb County, working class values, connected to community, wants to get us paid leave, not being timid, putting out great ideas, and can win. And we should all, I told Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi and Jim Clyburn, I said, guys, I am laser focused. What I know how to do is win these House races. I want to win Congress from a place called Michigan. Elect Hines, elect Sean McCann in Kalamazoo, Callie Barr up in Marquette. These are good Dems who can win and give Hakeem Jeffries the gavel, the majority, and a historic speakership.
I like what you're saying there, because that's how I feel like what I've been doing with this podcast is trying to elevate voices that are good people and good candidates across the state of Iowa. So to hear that in Michigan, I enjoy that a lot. Dr. Bob, I know we're running a little bit shorter on time. I know you got more questions. You got any questions you want to ask?
Sure. It's just like, it seems that none of the solutions to our problems seem that difficult to me. It's just like, let's identify the issue. So many people can't afford health care, so they don't go to the doctor. How come we can't solve that? How come, it's just like people can't afford their mortgage now. The insurance companies are sucking us dry. I can hardly look at my buddies that are insurance salesmen anymore because, you have a perfectly fine car. It's 15 years old, works just fine. You get rear-ended and they give you pennies on the dollar. You've been paying hundreds of bucks every month for insurance, and they give you nothing, absolutely nothing. I mean, and the same for health insurance. It's just like the system is rigged, especially the insurance system and the healthcare system. It's just like telling Americans that we don't care. And I think we need to start calling it what it is. I think that people will talk about them as being policy, but it's not policy. It's violence. It's state-sponsored structural violence when old people aren't going to the doctor because they can't afford it and they're dying. If you can't have mental health care and you're laying on the street, that's violence. It's not about policy. It's structural violence, and it's just everywhere. And you
can't find a place to live.
Yes,
that's some of that too. I mean, talk about laying out in the street. I mean, I agree with you.
And we're letting the corporations get away with it. We're subsidizing people that work at Walmart to let them get food stamps because Walmart needs so much more money. I guess they've got all the money in the world, but they still need more. These are things that I think most people would agree on, but somehow we can't get Congress to solve any of these problems.
Yeah. We have a real problem with Republican ideology. I mean, we just do. It's clear as damn day. And JD Vance is the kingpin symbol of it. Oh, I got mine. I got lucky. I was just, remember, I'm talking about working hard, right? You're just supposed to be able to work hard and get lucky. The Republican who's running for Senate in Michigan, he believes the exact opposite of what you were just saying. He believes in a healthcare system for those who get lucky. Every chance Mike Rogers could get to vote against giving people better access, more affordable quality healthcare, he voted against it. And we have got to honestly, do what these guys just did, which is win all the branches of government. We've got to win them and then do our agenda. And I think on the healthcare system, there was a real opening, in the 70s, really, 70s and 80s, to do something kind of similar to this, if it's, some call it Medicare for all, and my opponent in the primary, who's now our Democratic nominee, Abdul, he's a real scholar on this subject. And, we didn't do it, and we got this layered system. We didn't get the public option. And then all people get told is, well, we can't get that done. And then they also get told, well, we're going to do these big things for you, but it still can't get done. And so people feel cheated. I mean, working class people who I know, who I talk to, not for gimmick, not for campaign show, it's like they're just burned out. Their taxes have not gone down. And yet they are totally right. Bob, you talk about this, quote, violence element. How about the fact that the water pipes in Detroit are 100 years old and they need to be replaced, and it's $1 billion to replace them? And who the heck pays for it? The taxpayers again, and the millages and the bills and the tax and I'm going to tell you right now, they are bankrupting the middle class. It is straight up. That is what it is. Look at Social Security. You get capped. You don't have to pay any more after you make $145,000 a year. So it's just the whole damn middle class that pays for Social Security? Really? Everyone's pissed off about these data centers that just cropped up out of nowhere. And it's like, well, yeah, where's the guarantee? Because you guys are getting rich off our land. You're getting rich off of, oh, hi, Melissa. That's fine. I got someone coming in. They're getting rich off of all this stuff. And I'm doing a podcast here. Okay. Oh, yeah, she needs the car key. That's good. Okay. I'm in a friend shop over here. It's fine. It's all too. She just had her third baby, and look, she's a working mom, juggling it all, paying those rising healthcare costs. And, I'm here hooting and hollering. But I'm just gonna, and I'm not like, oh my gosh, let me take a pitchfork to a data center. I mean, they've already gotten built. But it's like, can you guys pay into some sort of infrastructure bond? Can you're not publicly traded. AI, data, crypto, all this stuff. They're just hoarding money. They're not even on the stock market. So if you're lucky enough to have a 401k or a pension, you're still not benefiting from where the damn wealth creation is. It's just getting further concentrated. And it's a bunch of bull. And it's really that is what's going on. That is what people are frustrated about. You know it, I know it. And what you need is, we need the people who get into the trenches, roll up their sleeves, do the like nitty-gritty work, because heck, Nathan, Bob, it's a built environment. I come from the place where the first stretch of highway was built in Detroit. That's where we're not a blank slate anymore. Our healthcare system isn't a blank slate. Can we localize? Can we empower? What the hell is going on in Iowa with Kim Reynolds and this total affront to every ding darn working class value? I don't even know what the hell they've been doing. But yeah, look, we got our debt growing faster than our GDP, and any wealth that is being created in this country isn't going anywhere close to the working, American. And and they just get billed more. They just get, and that's why you're saying it's rigged. That's why it feels rigged, because people just continue to get billed and taxed and taxed. And it's like, and another war started when the guy told us never doing another war. Like, liar in chief. It's just maddening. I mean, he won these campaign, in 24, fine. But man, we're eating it as a result. I was eating it. Michigan's eating it. These tariffs, it's not coming back to any of us, really.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you, Congresswoman, for coming on. I know we're short on a little bit of time. I got one last question that has nothing to do with politics, just because you're a real person. I really want to know this for my own sake. I'm a guy that loves comedy. I have stand-up comedians, friends. I love TV and movies and stuff. I need to know, what are your 3 top TV shows that you enjoy and your 3 top movies of all time? I just need to know that. Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you at the end of the campaign, Chris Farley had gotten revived. You might have seen that. So I started watching Tommy Boy
I love
and
that movie.
the Sheep movie. Even I slipped in Father of the Bride. I loved all that. I'm an OG Simpsons fan.
Okay.
I literally in 2007 like went to the premiere of the Simpsons movie. My mother loved South Park for TV comedy. And you know, I love Golden Girls. Am I a girl? I guess I'm just like a kid of the 90s,
Right?
and it's like I go through phases. Like I didn't have TV for like a decade in my 20s, and then I got TV, and then I watch some of it. I'll have the cable. I don't, and then I never turn it on. I don't know why I pay for it, but everything is just, another, subscription payment, boom.
Yeah.
It's just driving everybody crazy. And look, again, we don't need to despair. Like we just have to have dedicated public servants who want to be sleeves rolled up to get in the weeds and look at our funding mechanisms and our funding streams, streamline things, so, okay, we know where the dough is, where it can go. And then we need to go to those who have all the money and get them to pay in. I mean, I really think these data centers should be paying utility bills. If they're coming into my state, why aren't they just paying everyone's, within, you do the right formula on it. Okay, fine. You can't have Christmas every day, but, with all the lights. But it's like, hey, if you're an average rate user, living in this square footage house, why do you pay more than $20 a month for electricity? Why do you pay more than $20 a month for water? I mean, on
Mhm.
top of the taxes you're already paying. So, Bob, next show, invite me on. I'll do more listening and let's have an economist. Okay. Let's talk to an economist. And Sage, where are you in Iowa? Are you in
I'm,
Iowa?
I'm, I, yeah, I'm in Indianola, which is about 10 minutes south of Des Moines right now. But I'm
Okay.
originally from North Iowa, which is, if you ever came to Iowa, North Iowa, my town is known for is the musical The Music Man, as
Oh,
well
yeah.
as
Okay.
Richie Valens, the Big Bopper, and Buddy Holly flew out of my hometown airport, and that's the day the music died, February 9th, 1959. February 3rd, 1959.
I'll
So,
I'll keep you updated on TV shows. There's some good ones.
well, the Tommy Boy checks out because I was like, you an eccentric character that stands up for the middleman and is trying to save his community. That's what it checks out, Haley. That makes a lot of sense. So,
Well, I'll come see you in Iowa. How about that?
absolutely, I appreciate you coming on, Congresswoman. I appreciate you being blunt and real with me. That's what I was excited for to have you on for, and I hope I hope you continue like I'm trying to do. Let's continue this fight, trying to get Democrats elected and make sure that we get rid of this orange idiot in the White House and we actually have people that are fighting for us.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. I'll talk to you soon. All right. See you
Thank you.
guys. Bye.
Goodbye. And thank you, Congressman Haley Stevens, for again joining us on the Sage Against Machine podcast on this special episode. I'm so excited to chat with her, mainly because, like I said, she's an eccentric person, and I like hearing her thoughts. I know we differ on many areas, but I do believe that she's a real person. She's trying to do what's best for the people she's trying to represent. So, yeah, appreciate her jumping on. But now it's time to get to our headlines on today's show. We have a lot of talking to do about one of our fun people we got to talk about, Ashley Hinson. So Iowa headlines that I would love to chat with are, as I get text messages right now from Congressman Stevens, pipeline executive accused of buying influence and is now bankrolling Hinson. Bruce Rastetter's carbon capture pipeline company got the power to seize Iowa farmland or try to seize Iowa farmland by eminent domain. Now he's raising money for Ashley Hinson's Senate campaign. Dr. Bob, when I saw this, like, the thing that's sad about it, I wasn't surprised. No one should be surprised. This is on brand for Ashley Hinson, completely on brand for Ashley Hinson. She's going to continue to take money from people that are going to use and abuse this state and use and abuse the people in it, as opposed to working for the people of the state. And I think that's what's interesting the most is like we all last year, Dr. Bob, the year before, we've heard nothing about this pipe. We've heard nonstop about this pipeline and eminent domain. That was a huge topic last session at the Iowa House as well as the year before. And when I hear this and when I see this, I automatically go, yep, makes sense. And again, who is Ashley actually supposed to be representing and fighting for? She makes these lying commercials about fighting for the working class and not gonna ban stock trading and make life more affordable for people and all of this stuff, only to continue to take money from people that could care less about Iowans and to make sure that her pockets are lined. So, Dr. Bob, I want to get your thoughts on that real quick.
Well, it's not surprising. Bruce Rastetter is a very influential businessman. I mean, we know that Kim Reynolds and legislative Republicans, all pretty much march to his drum. This is an issue, though, that transcends party lines. I don't know for how many years now, people have been gathering at least once a week, anti-pipeline people, and they're Republicans, independents, and Democrats that don't want the pipeline. They don't want it because they don't think that private companies should be able to take away their land and for private purposes. And people will say that it's absolutely necessary. The pipeline is necessary to prop up the ethanol market, but it's not. There are other technologies that exist that don't need pipelines, and can actually use the CO2 from the pipelines and not bury it in the ground. It's like burying money, but the Iowa Renewable Fuels Association doesn't want you to know that there's all kind that the pipeline is obsolete before before a foot of it is laid, and the eminent domain is something that, I don't know, dozens of people gather at the legislature, at least once every week to protest. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants that pipeline. And then there are consequences to it too. You talk to the farmers that have had pipelines like this that have gone through their land. Essentially, some of their fields are compacted. It's tough to grow on the pipeline. Their pipelines are dangerous. When there's a chance of explosions, and if they get, they want to go close to people's houses, to communities. And there's so many arguments against the pipeline that this is actually, it'll get her money and let her do some more of her, I don't know, Stepford wife like commercials. It'll let her do that, but people aren't going to like that once they hear that. Especially a lot of Republicans and Democrats aren't going to like it. So,
Yeah, I
they must.
think. Go ahead.
It's just that they must have decided that it was worth the money and try to act like they're not, going to do what Rastetter says, but she will.
I wonder I wonder if they thought the same way about the Epstein money they took too. It's just like what drives me nuts about this is it's literally like a microcosm of our country, in my opinion, where it's like every day we wake up and Donald Trump and this administration, you wake up and you go, what fucking now? What now? What now? Like it's always like that. That's what this feels like in Iowa, though. Like it's every time we find out something about Ashley Hinson, it's always like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? You took money from the Epstein file people. Now you're taking money from people that are trying to pay people to take people's land in Iowa because they want to have their pipeline go through it. Like it just again, I'm going to preach on this all the time. The reason the reason I'm here doing what I'm doing is so many people across this state, so many people across this country feel like the politicians they're putting in Washington, D.C. could give a shit less about them. Ashley Hinson is a prime example of that. She could give a shit less about the people that she's trying to represent. Who she's trying to represent is all those special interests, all these people like Ratstetters that are giving her money, and it's like that's the the pain that I feel like a lot of people are feeling is just continuously over and over and over and over again. They say one thing, they do their ads where they're continuously lying, like we just talked about, is like the lying, the lying, the lying, and then we're gonna come out here and just blatantly do these, take money from people that are not here to serve Iowans, not here to fight. And it's just, oh, it's frustrating because it's like, what do we got to do as a people to get politicians to actually work for us again? And I think, again, it goes back to people like Josh Turk, Lindsey James, people like that, who are doing all they can to actually represent the people that they are representing, instead of taking money from corporate PACs and taking money from billionaires, taking money from people on the Epstein files. This is just another slap in the face for so many people. It just continues to be. And I don't understand the thought process behind it. Like, if you are trying to be the man behind the curtain, have the Wizard of Oz and have the man behind the curtain, like, shouldn't be doing this stuff out in the open and letting people see this stuff. And it's like, that's what's happening is you got to give a credit, Dr. Bob. We talked about it. Give credit to Iowa Starting Line and all the great reporters that we have in the state that are uncovering all the shit that Ashley Hinson is trying to hide, because she knows that people don't want that. She knows people want proper representation and affordability and cancer to go away and all these things, but she continues to vote the opposite direction. She continues to vote for the war. All these things, and I just feel like this is just another example of that. And in fact, that gets us right into our next topic. And what we're going to do is, I want to talk about, I don't want to cuss on this episode. I already have, but I don't want to do any of this cussing. I want to do things Ashley Hinson probably wishes Iowa voters wouldn't look up. I should change that, Dr. Bob, to things Ashley Hinson probably wishes Iowa reporters like Iowa Starting Line, Zach Orion-Smith, all these people wouldn't look up, because those are the people bringing this to light, and they're doing a very important job. And so I made a top 10 list thing here that I wanted to go through and get your thoughts on, Dr. Bob, before we end today's episode. Number one of things that Ashley Hinson probably wishes Iowa voters wouldn't look up. Hinson, this is a common knowledge, Hinson voted 6 times to continue the Iran war while Iowans paid more at the gas pump. While gas prices are high, while we have the Strait of Hormuz closed off, while all this chaos is going on because our president is an idiot and decided to get in a war he couldn't handle, Ashley Hinson, instead of doing what is right for Iowans and trying to represent Iowans, she voted 6 times to continue the Iran war. Thoughts, Dr. Bob?
Well, of course she did. And the sad thing about this too is, I listen to MAGA media. I watch MAGA media because I have to know what they're being, spoon fed. And yesterday I'm listening to WHO in the morning, WHO radio in Des Moines, and the whole spiel was about how the Iran war not going well is because of Democrats. It's all the Democrats' fault. The Democrats won't stand with our president. The Democrats aren't patriots. It's all the Democrats' fault. And so in her head, she's all rationalizing it. I don't know exactly what's going on, but she's Trump's puppet. She's going to do anything. And now she's Rastetter's puppet too. And I just want to add that the reason that Rastetter needs her is because there's tax credits that the only way the pipeline works is with the tax credits. So, that doesn't surprise me. It's just all she's interested in is making more money,
Yep.
It's
So let's give more examples of that. I'm going to give 2 more things that they kind of go together. So these are number 2 and number 3. Number 2, Hinson has taken $64,500 from oil and gas companies since 2021. And number 3, after the Iran war began, oil and gas companies gave Hinson another $21,000 for her Senate campaign. Thoughts, Dr. Bob?
Well, she just bought and paid for it.
There it is.
She's the oil companies, and see, and they love Trump because he's getting rid of all the renewable, fuels, the windmills, solar panels. He's getting rid of all of that and subsidizing oil companies. So no, that fits in well.
Number four, Iowa households have reportedly paid an extra $516 in gasoline costs since the war began. And I think it's what, 5, 6 months? I can't remember how long the war is going on. But when I think of that and when I hear that, I'm instantly going, what they're go right to their talking point. Well, you got to go through a little pain for a little pleasure. You got to just wait it out, wait it out, wait it out. Remember when this is going to be done? Remember when Donald Trump said this was going to be done in a few weeks and it's been months later? Like, it just continues to add up, and Ashley doesn't care.
No, and now the Strait of Hormuz is tied up forever. The Strait of Hormuz was open before we had a nuclear agreement that Trump tore up. And so all of this is because of poor planning. You and I knew that the Strait of Hormuz would be an issue. I mean, most people did. Trump didn't
Absolutely.
care.
No, I feel like most of these topics that I have on here are a lot about the economy, right? A lot about, how tough that Ashley's votes are making it on working class people and middle class people and people that are just trying to give their kids opportunities and their families opportunities in this world. So I'm going to skip down to one that stands out to me that I think more people need to just ask questions about. The one that I wanted to talk about is Ashley Ensign voted against a House measure concerning federal protections for same-sex marriage, right? Another thing that I didn't have on this list is she is an advocate for Donald Trump's beliefs when it comes to birthright citizenship, that the Supreme Court got it wrong. Two things that don't necessarily have to do about the economy, Dr. Bob, but affect everyday people, people that are literally minding their own fucking business, trying to live in this world, and you want to make it just tougher on them. That's one thing that I don't understand about the Republicans and the cruelty and the thought process there is, like, what does voting anything to do with same-sex marriage, what does that do? What does that vote do for people in Iowa, right? Like, what does it do for us? Like, there's an argument there that they can say religious things and whatever, but at the end of the day, most people in Iowa, where I come from, where you come from, most of us, we mind our own fucking business. I don't care what you're doing in your bedroom. I don't care what you're doing in your bathroom. And we want you to love who you love because we care about you like that. And the idea that our people that are supposed to be representing us are voting against that because of some religious ideology or because of some talking Republican talking point cultural or bullshit is what people are tired of. We're not sending you to Senate, to the Congress to dismantle our lives. We're sending you to protect and serve us and make our lives better. And so please tell me, Dr. Bob, maybe you can give me some insight. Well, how are any of these things that she's voting for in regards to same-sex marriage or even, the birthright citizenship, pushing for that, how is that making mine and your life better, the people she's supposed to represent?
It's not making anybody's life any better, except for the people that want to judge other people for who they are, what they want to do. They want to constrain us and use their power to bend us to their will. And so if their religion is against same-sex marriage, then we have to legislate against same-sex marriage. They want to take their worldview and impose it on the rest of us. And part of their worldview is extracting as much money as they can from the public coffers and putting it into private hands. It's everything. It's everything. They're just about demolishing and privatizing everything. It's just everything from schools, to firefighting, to
rural America, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's all part of the same plan, and it's going to blow up. It's going to explode. It's not sustainable. We aren't going to do it. As Haley said earlier, Haley Stevens, Congresswoman, it's like, well, I'm not ready to carry a pitchfork yet, or something like that, she said. But the American people are. There's going to be pitchforks, and it's going to implode. And I'm surprised there haven't been pitchforks before. But people can only take so much. They want us uneducated, so we're more, pliable. They want us to be so
shut up
hungry.
And do as they said.
Well, they want us to be hungry. They want us to be on the edge so that we'll accept any bone they toss at us. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And
I'm glad you
it's
said
going
that.
to explode.
You just led me right into my next one. You said it perfect. They tossed us a bone. So here's one of the things that I wanted to mention in this. Ashley Hinton voted for the big, beautiful bill that includes major cuts to Medicaid. Okay, so here's the thing with that. We talked about on the campaign trail. It's attack on rural hospitals. We're seeing closures across across Iowa, across America, that these Republicans like Ashley Hinton don't want to talk about. But they want to put advertising out there, Dr. Bob, about how they gave the biggest tax cut in history. Yeah, well, you gave that tax cut to the billionaires and the people that already have more money than God. Okay. Then they want the one thing that fucking drives me nuts is these talking points by these idiots about, well, no tax on tips, overtime, all these that is them throwing us a bone, which a lot of people don't know that expires after a certain amount of time, and it doesn't affect everybody. So it's like they use that as a talking point to say, see what we did over here, we threw you a bone while we're also fucking you over here. And that is the thing that is driving me nuts watching these lying sack of shit ads is they think we're fucking stupid. Like they continuously think we do. So here's what I want to ask, what I want people in Iowa, people who are listening to this, people that maybe not always agree with me, what I want them to do. Simple, easy thing. Take 10 minutes and use critical thinking skills. Don't go on talking points. Use critical thinking skills about, okay, these cuts to Medicaid, how would that affect our rural communities? How would that affect our hospitals? Oh, what are we actually already seeing? Why is my taxes going up while rich people don't have to pay as much taxes as we do and they're getting the benefits of it? Like, start asking those questions. Don't go to the jump to conspiracy theories. Just talk about daily things right in your life. Like right in front of you. They are being they're bullshitting you blatantly right in front of your face, and they think that you are too stupid to understand it. That is what Ashley Hinton and these Republicans are doing, and it is infuriating because we saw Joni Ernst said what she said, we're all going to die, in response to people in Iowa saying that people were going to die with these cuts that they did with this big, beautiful bill. So it's like, she knows, Joni Ernst knows, the people of Iowa know, but we want to keep faking the funk and pointing to, we got rid of your hospitals, we got rid of your Medicaid, we made it really hard, people are dying, but guess what we did? No tax on tips, take that. Like, that shit is a slap in the face, and it's not okay. And I want, Josh Turk needs to win. We need to win Iowa. We need people that are actually there to fight for us, because this continuous lying bullshit. And the thing that's really frustrating, Dr. Bob, I don't know if you noticed, I know Josh Turk just launched a new campaign today, but I've seen a lot of Ashley Hinton ads everywhere all the time, which tells me there's so many multimillionaires that are helping out, and there's a lot of money that's being influenced in this campaign right now to continue to keep this lying facade up. And it takes people like me and you, Dr. Bob, and a lot more people across this country to see it for what it is and continue to speak truth to power, because they're going to do whatever they can to continue to blind us to their bullshit.
Agreed.
Yeah, there's nothing that we can even really say about that, because it's just another it's just what we've been dealing with. And the last thing I had on here, we already know as well. Ashley Hinton is a millionaire. Her financial disclosure estimates put her net worth at roughly $5 million as of August 5th. I'll tell you this, Dr. Bob, if my net worth was $5 million, I wouldn't put gas in my tank. I would have somebody to drive that car for me and put some gas into it for myself. I would, you know what I mean? Like, that's what people do. And so to think that she actually knows the struggle of every Iowans and knows how hard this world is, and we need to make this work for, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. Like, could you imagine a world, Dr. Bob, where we had, like, in every political ad, like, had to be the truth or it was not aired? Could you imagine that? Because in social media, like, if you cuss and say certain things, they'll pull it down and you can't have it up. Imagine that world that we would live in if you literally could not lie I feel like 90% of the problems that we have in this country would be gone.
Yeah.
Because
There's no
people
consequences.
yeah, they make a living off of lying. That's what Donald Trump's done his whole life. And the most infuriating thing is the amount of people that just blindly listen to it or follow it because they trust in a TV show, they trust in a news network or whatever it is, and they've been doing that for 30 years. That they just, they wouldn't lie to me. They've been treating me good for 30 years. Well, do you think maybe you've been lied to for 30 years? Could you think about that for a minute? You don't want to think about that because it's uncomfortable. That is the problem. And that's the hardest part about speaking truth to power. It becomes uncomfortable for people to hear it. People don't like hearing uncomfortable noise, uncomfortable situations. They don't want to know it. But that's the thing is, that's why we're doing this podcast. That's why we're saying what we're saying. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Josh Turk's out there, Lindsay, all these people are standing up and fighting for people because we're tired of it. We're tired of this lie. And Ashley Hansen continues to push it out there like it doesn't matter. And man, Iowa, we got to wake up and we got to vote the right way for people that are actually representing us. And I saw recently that she did this thing about, Josh Turk is too liberal for Iowa, right? Well, I want to say Iowa is too smart for Ashley Hansen. That's what I want to say. That's what I want to say. We're too fucking smart for this. You can't bullshit us anymore. You got to speak to us like we're real people and then be honest with us. If you want to represent us, be honest with us. And I hope more Iowans listen to that and more Iowans take that and go, yep, that's what we need. Be honest with us and you'll get our vote. If you're not honest with us, get the fuck out. I think that's a good way to end this episode, Dr. Bob. I want to say I appreciate Haley Stevens, Congresswoman Stevens, for joining us. She's a fun person to talk to. I knew when she said Tommy Boy, I was like, yep, that's where she gets that. She's a fun person to be around. But appreciate her joining us. I'm glad we could do this special episode here on this Wednesday. But until next time, you're just going to have to try to catch me on the flippity flip. And oh, by the way, we got Rachel Burns coming up on Thursday. Check us out. See you.
Welcome to the noise inside your head. No holding back.